Hello, welcome to the program. My name is M.W.Burnette. I am a home studio music producer, songwriter, and recording artist, and I am doing these broadcasts to help you to get to know me a little bit better and to give you some insight into the inspirations and the motivations behind the music that I'm making. Most of the songs that I write tend to deal with issues of faith, spirituality, and social justice and the overlap of those topics. And then also deconstructing a bit of the extra social conventions and extra baggage that gets tacked on to religious practice sometimes, and that has oftentimes done a lot of damage and caused some hurt for a lot of us. So maybe hope to kind of heal those wounds a little bit for some of us. So in my previous episode, I started talking a bit about the concept of unanswered prayer and the way that dealing with that issue can be difficult for us, and it puts a tension in our faith. It makes it hard for us to it tends to make us question whether or not our faith in God is valid. And so I'm going to continue on with that in that concept today. And again, just to clarify, I'm approaching this from a Christian perspective, but I don't think that the concepts that I'm talking about here are necessarily exclusive to Christianity. Most of us, whatever our religious tradition is, we tend to try to communicate with God, however we see that supernatural energy or being or personality, whatever. And the way that we interact shapes our faith, and then that in turn shapes the way that we approach our reality and the way that we live our lives. And so I'm hoping that even though if you're not necessarily Christian, and I'm approaching this topic from that perspective, that you will still be able to relate in some way to the concepts I'm talking about and still hopefully get some inspiration and encouragement from all of this. So anyway, today I'm going to talk about a few Bible verses that are often kind of cited in terms of prayer, and I think they are a big reason for why we have the concept of God answering prayers the way that we do. So anyway, I'm going to start here in the book of Matthew, and this is chapter number 21. I'm going to read verses 21 and 22. It says, "So Jesus replied, I tell you the truth. If you have faith and do not doubt, not only can you do what was done to the fig tree, but also you can say to this mountain, go throw yourself into the sea, and it will be done. If you believe, you will receive whatever you ask for in prayer." So that's a pretty bold promise there, but we'll get back to that in just a second. So the next verse I'm going to read for you is from the book of Mark. This is chapter 12, and let's see. I'm sorry, no, it's not. This is chapter 11, and this is verses 23 and 24. And this is kind of the same story that we were just reading in Matthew. So Jesus said, I tell you the truth, if anyone says to this mountain, go throw yourself into the sea, and does not doubt in his heart, but believes that what he says will happen, it will be done for him. Therefore I tell you, whatever you ask for in prayer, believe that you've received it, and it will be yours. Okay, so and then one more. This is from the book of John. This is chapter 15 and verses 7 and 8. If you remain in me, and my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish, and it will be given to you. This is my Father's glory, that you bear much fruit, showing yourselves to be my disciples. Okay, so in each one of these verses, you've got this similar promise, is that if you have faith, if you believe when you ask for whatever you wish in prayer, then you will receive it. So the promise is there. Ask for what you wish in my name, and you will receive it. But there is also a prerequisite, and that prerequisite is faith. And let's talk about that for a second. Actually, you know what? I want to back up just a second here. I think it's important to kind of revisit what we were talking about a little bit in the first episode, because if we don't, everything that we say from this point is going to sound like a rationalization for, well, right here it says, or in the Bible, it says that God will give us whatever it is that we ask for. And if when we say that doesn't happen, any kind of explanation we give is just going to sound like an excuse, trying to, rationalize, reason that away, when it says right there in black and white, or in my case in the red, that's the promise. So anyway, let's back up for just a second here, and talk about the idea of God being all powerful, all knowing, and all good, and recognize that if God is those things, that answering our prayers is contradictory to that nature, because we are not. We are flawed. And so we can ask for all kinds of just really wacky, weird stuff that would go against his basic nature to grant to us. We could ask things that are going to hurt us or hurt other people. And if God is all good, he's not going to do that. And if he's all knowing, he's going to know that answering that prayer is going to do harm to other people. So he's not going to do that. And if he did, if he was subject to our every whim, if he didn't have that capacity to refuse to answer our prayers, I don't think that God would really be worthy of our respect so much. He would just sort of be our own lapdog to boss around, just simply because we believe it. So anyway, continuing along that thought, taking into account the verses we were just reading right there, God says, ask for whatever you will in my name, and he gives us that prerequisite of faith. So let's look at that prerequisite of faith a little bit. It's not just simply believing that whatever we ask for we'll get. There's a little bit more to it than that. It kind of goes back to what I was saying just a second ago, is just simply because we believe that the crazy thing that we're asking for is going to come true doesn't make it true. There's more to that belief. So faith in this sense, is not just belief. It's belief plus hope and trust. So when we're talking about faith here, we're not just saying we believe in something, but we also have a deep understanding of the nature of what it is that we believe in. So for instance, when I say I have faith in someone, it's not just that I believe that someone exists, but that person has certain characteristics that I know that I can depend on that person. Like if I have faith that I need a ride to the airport, and I have faith that you're going to come pick me up, that means that not only do I just believe that you exist, but I believe that you're trustworthy and that you're going to keep your promise to me. And so that's the kind of faith that fills the prerequisite for the answered prayer in this case, I think. I want to look a little bit deeper at this verse from John and kind of reiterate or reinforce that point. So in verse 7, or verse 6 actually, I can go back to verse 5 because this is a familiar verse. It says, I'm the vine, you are the branches. If a man remains in me and I in him, he will bear much fruit. Apart from me, you can do nothing. If anyone does not remain in me, he's like a branch that's thrown away and withers. Such branches are picked up, thrown into the fire, and burned. But if you remain in me, and my words remain in you, ask whatever you wish, and it will be given to you. So, thinking about that idea of faith and being rooted in that understanding of God's nature, we recognize that God has a purpose and that he is working on things, and that in this case Jesus is talking about his mission, and he says, as long as you are engaged with me in accomplishing that mission, then ask whatever you will in my name, and you will have it. It's not just ask whatever you want to just out of your own personal greed, selfishness, ambition, what have you. This is ask for the things that you need in order to accomplish this purpose. So the promise is not every prayer that we pray will be answered. Rather, the promise is that as long as we're in this together, there's no obstacle that's going to get in your way and prevent you from accomplishing what I've called you to accomplish. So anyway, that's all for today, and we'll continue on with this a little bit more next time. But just want to say thank you again for sticking around and listening to me. This is all new, and I know that the production quality here, maybe the pattern of my voice is not quite up to modern podcasting standards and so on and so forth. But if you'll stick around with me, we'll get a little bit better as time goes on. So anyway, thanks again for sticking around. Hope to see you next time.